I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and delight to have back with us Larry Pratt. He's the political analysis and executive director of Gun Owners of America, and you can go to gunowners.org. That's their website. I want to talk to him about a couple of things. Larry, good to see you again. How you doing?
Hello, Perry. Good to be with you. Thank you so much.
You bet. A lot to talk to you about in a short amount of time. Let's get into it. What do you think of the president's nominee for the Supreme Court, Judge Neil Gorsuch?
Well, this is going to be a whole lot better an appointment than if Hillary Clinton had been making it. That is for sure. We find this guy, someone with a judicial temperament, at least equivalent to Scalia's. And he has said very clearly that there were cases he decided that he didn't like the outcome. And I can think of one where I would agree with. Yeah. I didn't like the outcome. But he was following the law and following precedent, which is what a lower court judge should do. Hopefully, when he's in the Supreme Court, he will have some more freedom, some more latitude, and some of those lousy precedents can be overturned.
Have you seen anything that would give you an indication of where he is with the Second Amendment?
Yeah, he's made it pretty clear that he is an originalist and he supports the Second Amendment as it was written, as it was understood at the time. So we're pretty comfortable with getting Mr. Gorsuch onto the court, that he's going to be pretty much in the line of Antonin Scalia.
That's great. So I would imagine he's going to be drilled on this pretty hard during confirmation hearings. Where do you think that will go? I mean, where do you think some of the Democrats are going to go as it relates to the Second Amendment? Well,
I can't be entirely sure, but after the vote to confirm Mrs. DeVos as education secretary, that was a tie broken by the vice president. I don't think it can be any more challenging than that for Mr. Gorsuch. So if the Democrats want to vote against the Second Amendment, if they want to vote against an originalist, if they want to vote basically in favor of or against somebody who's going to actually interpret the Constitution and apply it, good. I hope that's a recorded vote, and we will hold them to it at election time.
There you go. Hey, Larry, give us an update. What's happening with gun owners, and in particular, how are gun sales in America?
Well, gun sales have leveled off, surprise, surprise, because the retirement of the Salesman of the Year has had an impact. While Mr. Obama was president, people were quite alarmed and were buying firearms in record numbers, and that included women. They were the largest growing group of people buying guns, and all of that has now kind of leveled off. People are probably still yet to fire all the guns that they bought. I have guns I've not fired. They're just stored away. So I think we've got a very we've got important work to do, even as we now are not buying guns in a panic. We've got legislation to push through, and hopefully the bill that would become law that would make someone's concealed carry permit, that states would have to treat it the way they do your driver's license. You got one in one state, then you can go into any state with it. And including in this legislation is language that says if you live in a constitutional carry state where you don't need a permit to carry concealed, then your driver's license, in effect, becomes your concealed carry permit when you go to, a place like Chicago. And we are looking at the possibility of as many as 20 states this year making up the total list of states that have this kind of constitutional carry.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how is that legislation going where your concealed permit would be considered your driver's license, or like your driver's license?
Well, we think we have a pretty easy road to hoe in the House. The Senate's going to be a little bit more complicated because what we already saw in Mrs. DeVos, the Republican and a lot of fights in general are going to be within the Republican Party, within the Republican caucus, because the Democrats are increasingly a non-factor. And perhaps after 2018, if we don't get certain legislation through that we should now, we may be able to do it after 2018, because the Democrats have a lot of potential losses staring them in the face. And especially if they want to keep voting like a coastal Looney Tune, which is kind of what the Democrat Party has been reduced to now, I think they'll just suffer even more losses, and they're not likely to make any gains back in 2018.
Are there any things that we don't know about as it relates to gun laws inside these so-called sanctuary cities? Is there any conflict there? Well,
I don't know exactly what you might be, if you'll pardon the expression, shooting at, but there certainly is a tendency for these cities to all be Democrat in their elected government, and those cities are anti-Second Amendment. So as you have an influx of illegal immigrants, you have an increase even in crime that was already a problem under these Democrat administrations. And it's not easy in many of these Democrat cities for people to get a legal concealed carry permit. So unless they're in a constitutional carry state. So it's going to be increasingly dicey, risky for people living in these sanctuary cities who are citizens, who have jobs, who are working there. And when these illegals continue to flood in, it's going to be, shall we say, at the minimum, problematic.
Yeah. What other threats are out there against the Second Amendment these days that maybe we're not aware of?
Well, I don't know that there are that many. It's mainly opportunity that we should be able to capitalize on. And I guess the one answer to your question would be a challenge is within the Republican caucus. If we can't get them to line up, and if we can't get the leadership to make this a relatively high priority item, like the national concealed carry permit idea, then we're going to have trouble because we couldn't get the Republicans all on the same page. That's probably our biggest challenge.
And that's interesting because now you got the House, the Senate, and the White House. You think you could really protect the Second Amendment the best that we've seen it in many, many years.
That's the theory, but I think we saw that the theory has a few bumps in it as it moves down the road. That's why Vice President Pence had to break the tie to get Mrs. DeVos installed as Secretary of Education. So we could see more of that on certain legislative items, including firearms, and it's going to mean that the grassroots members and supporters of Gun Owners of America are going to play a very important role. That's why we hope people get our email. They can go to gunowners.org and get it for free. And that way, we might be able to put enough heat on members of Congress that they finally say, okay, whatever you want. I just don't want all of this heat being put on me.
All right. Let me say to our viewers and listeners again, gunowners.org. That's the website, gunowners.org. Larry, thank you. And thank you for your vigilance, my friend. Let's stay in touch and let's see where this goes. Gun Owners of America, and you can go to gunowners.org. God bless you, friend. Let's talk again soon.
And God bless you. Thanks for letting me speak to your audience.
Okay. We'll be right back.